The low mark I've seen from people that I usually follow is in the 60s. I think that's a little low, but the high mark is in the 130s, 140s. That seems steep for somebody that had the career year.
All right. Well, we'll start out with the old teammate of mine, caught his big league debut, Corbin Burns, I think is going to go in the realm, and I should have written down my annual salaries, my AAVs, because it's kind of how I figured it out.
I can do that. I can help you. Yep.
Okay, and so I think I have Corbin Burns at 36 a year for 7 years, giving him a 257 million. He is signing at 2 years older, almost 2 years older, maybe a year and a half older than what. Thank you for putting those up, Jer.
And it's 37 just for you, Kratz. 36.7. So we round up 37.
Perfect. When Garrett Cole signed his contract, he got his at 36 per year, but 9 years. He's 2 years older, so I dropped 2 years, but I gave him an extra $1 million per year because he is going to be coveted by teams. That's why I have him at 257. Christian Walker is going to get, easy math there, 21 a year for 3 years at 34. I don't think teams are going to want to go into that fourth year unless they would push it to like a 4 years, 68 million to kind of spread out that AAV. But I just don't see him as that, and because he's going to be the JV player to whoever was searching for the Pete Alonso sweepstakes. So I think that's who they're going to go where they're going to go Christian Walker. I'm going to skip over Juan Soto. We'll talk about that last. I think Breggy is going to get 8 years, 180 million. I think his ability to be out on the field, his ability to not strike out, things that age well are the ability to not strike out, bat to ball skills, and he plays a premium third base. He is fresh off a Gold Glove, which is so valued. And if you look at what Matt Chapman just got, this is where I came with the 8 years, 180 million. Max Fried, I think, is going to get 6 years, 150 million. And I look back to 2019 with Patrick Corbin. Now, people would say, well, why would you sign a contract like Patrick Corbin's? Patrick Corbin won a World Series, and I will hang my hat on that. Nats fans, baseball fans, people who hate when players get money will be like, terrible contract, terrible contract. He's got a really shiny ring that says it was not a terrible contract, because if you go back and see who threw some really significant innings in that World Series, I get it. Max Scherzer, I get it. Steven Strasburg, Patrick Corbin. And I think Max Fried can be better than him. He doesn't quite have the innings or the strikeouts that Patrick Corbin had going into his platform year, going into his free agent year. But I still think Max Fried is a little bit more of a valuable player. Plus, that contract is now 5 years old. And Juan Soto, 14 years, $602 million.
I love a great deal, but I'm not going to run sprints in the outfield just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. With Mint Mobile, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month with the purchase of a 3-month plan. Purchase and activation is super easy too.
To get started, go to mintmobile.com/territory. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number.
To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/territory. That's mintmobile.com/territory. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/territory.
$45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on their first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for details. And you've got 3 players that you chose.
I did.
Anthony Santander.
Anthony Santander, by the way, who has a great name, I'm going 484 now. People are going to say that's $21 million a year. People are going to say that's low. But my biggest thing is he's not a great outfielder. He's slower than Erik Kratz and me running the bases So he's not a very athletic outfielder. He's not a great outfielder. So he's almost going to turn into a DH. So for me, that's why he's a little bit lower than probably some people are thinking. Now, do I hope he gets way more than that? Absolutely. But to me, people are going to say, well, you hit homers and that's really your one thing. Yes, you're a switch hitter, but there's no defense. The other one is Pete Alonso, Polar Bear. I'm going 5-125. And I want to say he goes back to the Mets. I think if the Mets get Soto, then they have to say we got to bring back Pete. And we're going for a super team, and we're really going for it. So I think 5-125 for Pete. That's a fair number. He's can play defense a little more than Santander can. He hits more homers. He's done it in New York, and I think this is a hometown New York Mets thing. And the last one I want to do Blake Trinan. Blake Trinan had a great year, had a great run for the Dodgers, and I think he goes back to LA. I'm going to pick a team here. 1 for 15. I think he goes back to the Dodgers for 1 year, $15 million. Probably tries to put a cap on his career. He's a great dude. We had him on here. He's awesome. Throws that sinker and that super nasty sweeper, and boom.
I like these on many levels. So I'll do a little bit of countering here. So for Pete, the offer reported in 2023 that he turned down, which was also an old front office regime. That's not there now. 7 years, $153 million. So this is 5 years, $125. So it's less, but also it's not technically, because I think that included either 23 and or 24, if that makes sense, right? So you're almost in a similar range there, that now he's gotten a free agency and gets that kind of figure. Number 2, Santander, if you're looking at articles from some other prognosticators in the sport, they think that most of them think he's getting over 100. Most, not all. I actually agree with you on this one. The low mark I've seen from people that I usually follow is in the 60s. I think that's a little low, but the high mark is in the 130s, 140s. That seems steep for somebody that had the career year. Who's awesome. I think he's going to be really great.
He's been great for 2 or 3 years now.
Switch hitter, pop like that. People love him, but you're right. It's close to a one-dimensional
player. It's almost
player.
a one-dimensional
He's not an on-base guy.
No, he's a home run guy. And he's not very good defensively. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't run the base because he's not fast.
Right. Got a good hit tool, but
he's great. Yeah. He's great.
It's not a guy who's going to walk or do any of those other things. Okay. And then lastly, I think you nailed it with Trinan. Some people might think that number sounds large. They shouldn't. I mean, he was one of the best relievers in baseball this year. Yes, he's up there in age. That's why you do a 1-year contract. But, I mean, Chapman's pulling numbers close to that mark, recently. Well, I guess a little lower. Chapman was 1 year, 10.5 coming off his season with Texas. Blake Trinan is significantly better this year than what Chapman was coming off of with Texas, where he was kind of shaky in the playoffs. Remember in 23? Yeah. Trinan was ridiculous for most of the playoffs.
I think he'll go back to the Dodgers because they want to take a shot at another ring. Yeah. I think they'll pay him like he deserves to be paid. Mm-hmm. Now, that might be a little high. I
don't think it is. I actually
think
that
one might be a little high because I really like Blake Trinan.
Yeah. But, I mean, didn't Kimbrel get a pretty close number to that mark too? And again,
he got 13.
I mean, come on. Trinan, yes. I actually think there's going to be some good competition for him for 1 year because, at that age, he'll do a year. I would think he wants to go to a contender, but I think that's the right number. All right. Kratz, any rebuttals, or can I roll mine out and then you can try to pick at us?
My only rebuttal, and I can't figure it out, is the Pete Alonso. Are you paying Pete Alonso $2 million less a year than Freddie Freeman?
That depends on what the market says he's worth. I mean, Freddie Freeman also got caught. Let's not forget, Freddie Freeman got caught in that weird thing where he always thought he was going back to the Braves, and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, like, oh, we just traded for Matt Olson. And Freddie Freeman's like, oh, crap, I got to find somewhere to go. And the Dodgers were the team that stepped in and paid him a lot of money. The difference is inflation, the money's gone up for those type of players, right? Freddie Freeman signed, 22? After 22, right? After 21. They won in 21. Yeah. So this is
after 21, right? After 21?
So they won in 21.
6 years, 162 was his number.
But
that
includes I don't think
big
Pete beats that, but $25 million for Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a team out there that'll say, first of all, I think Pete's marketable. The people like him, and I think he goes back to the Mets. I don't know if there's another fit for him. If he doesn't get this from the Mets, I don't know where he gets the money.
The fit for me is Houston if they don't get Bregman back.
Okay.
If Bregman signs for like 180, 200, whatever, then they need pop. They need to replace a name like that. Obviously, it's at a different position, but they do have an opening at first base.
Yes, true.
And I think they've always been into him. I think they like that
Aren't
power.
Aren't they still paying Jose Abreu 1 more year?
One more year, yeah. So there could be a little bit of stage fright, but also Pete Alonso and with the Crawford boxes or whatever they're going to
Listen,
end up calling
I think there's a lot of good fits for
Oh
him,
my
but
Yeah,
I
God.
I
just don't
agree.
know. I just think that people look at him as a one-dimensional guy, much like Santander.
Hmm.
Although I think Pete Alonso has a bigger name, and I think you can sell him a little bit more to fans. Nothing against Anthony Santander because he's an unbelievable player and he hits homers too. But I just think more people know who Pete Alonso is, and fan-wise, than Anthony Santander.
Hmm. Yeah, Crane knows Jim Crane, the owner of the Astros, obviously good relationship, I think, with Boris. I think they'll have some combos about Bregman, and if it doesn't happen, they'll have some combos about Pete, and he'll try to get a market for Pete. Because yeah, it is tough to figure out the first base market. All right, I'll rip through my three. I'll start with a big name, Willie Adames. I'm going to go at the high end of what people are probably thinking, but he's 29 years old. He's a shortstop. If you want to pick fun at anything or like poke a hole, maybe it's the defense and the metrics. But also, I think he can play a nice shortstop still for a while and then transition and be a really good third baseman. So ready? I've got 8 years, $205 million. I think he's passing the 200 mark, and that's the goal here. Yeah, that's a big number. Dansby Swanson is the number he's going to look at and say 177. I could see him going to a team that is looking at luxury tax implications and saying, let's add an 8th year. So essentially, let's do a deal that's like, where did I put the numbers? 196, and let's add an 8th year for an extra $9 million that stretches this money out, and we'll lock you up until you're 36 years old. So I just think most of the predictions that I saw were 7 years. I'm going 8. And I think that's going to be one of the themes here is the big market teams are going to say, we're not going to give you the best average annual value because we're going to tack on years so that we can lower that luxury tax number. Because what happened in the last collective bargaining agreement is they didn't raise the luxury tax numbers commensurate to the revenue of the league. That's a huge issue for the big market teams. That was done on purpose to try and hold them back. It's a soft cap. So that is the way that you counter it. That's why Soto's going to sign for whatever, 14, 15 plus years so that you can stretch that money out. That's what's going to happen with Adames, especially if he signs with a team like, say, the Dodgers. Okay. Next up for me, Blake Snell. I got 4 years because he's, I think, 32 years old now and $128 million. So I think that one's pretty self-explanatory. I think that he's going to look for, I think he's going to look for the deal that kind of takes him to the back half of his career, doesn't want to do the 1-year contract again. I could see him signing earlier on this offseason. And at that rate, you're looking at, what did I have here? 128 divided by 4 crats. I did this for you the other day, but I think I put him at 32. Yes, 32 on average annual value. That's the number I have for him. Any thoughts so far? And then I'll give you my last one.
I think you've been pretty close.
Kratz?
I think Adames is a tick high. Is a tick high just because of his severe decline in his defensive metrics this year. That is like very glaring for teams that know at the end of an 8-year or even a 6-year career is probably not, or 6-year contract, 8-year contract, he's probably not playing short. Do the Dodgers want to sign another shortstop and then have to push Mookie back to short again because his defensive metrics were closer to what he did this year than what he had done the previous 4 years? Like if they can put their finger on why his numbers were bad, then I think that team says, okay, I'll give the 8 and 200. I love that contract then. If not, I think they're going to be scared and be closer to like the 165-ish.
Okay. And then some other teams, there's going to be 2 teams thinking the same way and one other team's going to go above. That's my thoughts, and especially because I do think he can place third or second. And then lastly, I picked this one on purpose. This one was tough for me. Sean Manaea, 4 years, $88 million. I mean, it's a lot more money than he's ever made in his career, but I think he's going to be.
I don't think he gets that much. I think
that's
he gets
too
shorter
high?
years.
Because he's
I think teams are
33
going
on
to want to
opening
say
day.
they're going to say to him, "We'll give you 2 or 3 years and see if what you did was with
I don't
maybe
think
an
2's
option,
getting it
maybe
done.
some options on the back end." I don't know.
There's enough teams I think that are going to throw at least 2 his way, and it's going to get to 3. And I'm like, could it get to 4 and again get stretched out so it's 22 a year?
Yeah, I think you're right.
Some of the predictions I was looking at from people that I like had him at 3 years and had a higher average annual value. And again, I was like, let's say it's the Mets, who I think are very, very interested in bringing him back. Again, they're like, can we get that average annual value number down? Because we're going to start soaring past the Steve Cohen luxury tax number, especially if like their offseason might be Soto, Burns, Manaea. And if that's the case, they're like, we got to be careful here, and maybe Pete. So anyway, thoughts
I
from
got
everyone?
one more, by the way,
Yeah.
and I think I'm going to get this one right. Garrett Cole's going to sign 4 years, 144. Just want to say.
Didn't he already do that?
No, maybe.
You're saying he's going to opt back out.
Did he?
And then opt back in again.
Yep.
Wow.
He's going to get 4 years, 144. It's going to be about 36 a year.
Well, they're still talking, as are everybody with everyone. We're still talking. Kratz is still talking. Kratz has had conversations with many GMs on this show. They're still talking. So everyone's still talking, right?
True. Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.